There is so much to talk about right now. Ooh. Like how autofocus was not enabled. It's pouring rain outside right now. You might be asking, why the hell are you going outside? Well, without going too far down the rabbit hole, I've got to make a poker vlog. My camera's getting soaked, and we've got quite the drive. So let's head over to the Commerce to get into some fun action and like not be. It's cold. It's cold. It's like 40 degrees, man. This is California. What the hell's going on? It's supposed to be sunny all the time. Nobody signed me up for this. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Close to Broke. Sorry, it is a little bright in here. Let's fix that out. Guys, there's a lot to talk about today. I mean, not really. Same things as usual, but today, something really extraordinary happened. As I mentioned beforehand, my lovely editor, Mr. Mike, is in between a wedding situation, which means I've had to have a little bit of a crunch time to put out some of these videos. That is no exception as today. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep, and I was like, hey, let's go get a darn session in. So today I'm gonna do my very best OMC impression, but I'm gonna go undercover OMC. One, because I'm not old. Two, we're here to play some hands, so we're a little bit on a time constraint. I'm gonna take care of that, and then you guys know the deal. Let's go play some poker.
My, oh my, do I have a surprise for you. I came into the Commerce today looking to play the 1500 max 510. Both games looked awful, and there was actually a wait list. All right, out of the corner out of my eye, I don't have a lot of time to play, but I see a 10, 20, 40 game going. It's four-handed. Sure, there's 3 pros in the game, but there's one player looking to have a blast. Either way, we're into the mix here. 10, 20, 40 for 3K, and we even get the straddle up to 320 at some point in the session, so buckle up. First hand in. At this point, we're playing 6-handed. Under the gun makes it $60 to go. That fun player I mentioned earlier is in middle position. He cold calls. I'm in the big blind, and I look down at ace-6 offsuit. Good enough to defend. I make the call. We're going off to a flop here that comes queen, queen, 6. We flop ourselves 2 pair with a nut kicker. Action ends up getting checked through, so I'm pretty confident I do have the best hand. And the turn card comes out the deuce of spades. The opponent to my left has been playing a little bit on the tighter side pre-flop. That's one thing for sure. But secondly, I think that he's been playing fairly sticky post-flop. I think that I have a clear-cut value bet here, looking to get value, targeting hands like king high and ace high. I decide to bet here for $80. The opponent to my left, the initial raiser, calls, and the opponent across from us folds. We're going off to a river, hoping to see a brick, and it looks like a pretty safe card to me as it comes to 7 of diamonds. Doesn't change a whole lot here. I don't think I'm getting floated by any hand that contains a 7 for the most part, outside of maybe 6-7, which now improves to a better 2 pair than I have. All that being said, I think once again I have a pretty clear-cut value bet. I bet 150, once again looking to target inferior middle pairs, 4s and 3s for sure, as well as what most likely is ace high or king high for my opponent. My opponent thinks about it for quite some time before eventually tossing in the call. We show, and we are in fact good. Later, our opponent would mention to us that he did call us in fact with ace high, so really happy with the way we played that hand and looking to keep things going. In this following hand, under the gun makes it $100 to go. Yeah, $100, that means a $40 straddle is on. We're still playing four-handed, and we look down once again at ace-6, but this time the suited variety. In position, a hand as good as this, playing short-handed. I think we have a clear-cut 3-bet. Don't want to play passive. That usually lends itself to not working out great for me. Let's keep things in the aggressive state of mind. I decide a 3-bet to 270. Action folds back to the opponent who calls. We're going off to a flop here that comes 7-4-3 rainbow. We do flop ourselves a backdoor flush draw as well as a gut shot straight draw. With the action checking to me, I think we can go in between betting and checking. This is not a board that I'll be having much nut advantage on outside of maybe 7s once in a while. But for the most part, our opponent's going to have all the straights and all the sets. Either way, when he checks it over to me, seems like this is a reasonable hand with as much equity as I do have to throw out a small c-bet of 150. Our opponent obliges. We're going off to a turn card that is a beautiful card as it comes to 7 of spades. Pairs the top card, which is okay, I suppose, but it does bring us a backdoor flush draw. The action checked over to me. I think one mistake I've made in the past is in spots like this, I just go like barrel, unloading everything. What I've learned is it works best in spots like this to just go ahead and take my showdown equity. As stupid as it sounds, I only have ace high It might not be good all that often, but the one thing I do want to do more than anything is realize the equity that I have. It'd be really, really unfortunate if my opponent checks to me, I bet, he check raises, and I have to fold a hand as strong as I have. All that being said, I just check it through, and the river card is beautiful. 8 of spades. We end up runnering the nut flush, and even better yet, my opponent bets 300. In this instance, although I don't like putting things in vacuum because we're still playing live cash game poker, the one thing I have to note is that my opponent's a professional, and in a 3-bet pot out of position, I don't think my opponent's going to have a ton of really, really bad hands here. Sure, he's going to have some bluffs. Of course, we can give credit for our opponent to have that, but we have a clear-cut raise. The question now becomes what amount. There's a ton of hands that have to bet call if I raise here, and if I raise here, it doesn't really matter how big I make it. I only have about 3,000 in my stack. I think all in is a little too excessive, so I decide to land on the price of $2,000. My opponent goes deep into the tank and starts murmuring under his breath that he should have a clear snap call here, and eventually, after quite some tanking, he decides on a call. We show our hand and we are good. Later, our opponent would say that he flopped a straight with 5-6. Oh my goodness. Not good news for him, but man, oh man, was it freaking great news for me. Happy to take that pot down. It's going to definitely boost our morale, and things are heading in the right direction early. To be honest, to this point in the session, we've not really had any middling hands. They've either been like really good or really bad, which kind of almost lends itself to be favorable for me, as we haven't been able to get in trouble with these like suited Broadway hands or suited middling connectors. Either way, in this next hand, the cutoff was a Euro Pro raises to 50. Man, I have not seen a 2.5x raise in a cash game in a very long time, but here we are. Action folds to me in the big blind. We look down at Queen 9 offsuit, clear cut defend, so we do just that. Flop comes out 7-6-3 rainbow. Action checks to him. He decides to check it back. I think this was a pretty clear spot where our opponent probably won't be c-betting this flop, as I'll have a ton of check raises here. Either way, the turn card comes a beautiful 9 of clubs. Exactly what we were looking for as we improved the top pair. Pretty solid kicker. I decided to lead out here for about $30 into 110, about a third or a fourth. 30% size of the pot, you get what I'm saying. Our opponent then decides to raise the size of the pot to 140. Action back over to me, and I think we have a fairly easy situation of just calling. This spot, if I'm going to be totally honest, against what I deem to be a professional poker player, spoiler alert, he definitely is honestly going to be fairly overbluffed. I don't suspect my opponent from cutoff to be raising a hand like 4-5 all that often. Sure, maybe 4-5 suited sometimes, but honestly, in their range in a 7-handed game, probably not that likely. And that being said, I just don't think he's going to be checking back this flop all that often with a hand like that. And if you move past that, I just don't think he's going to have enough sets on this board or enough overpairs to play it like this. So all that being said, I just have a clear-cut call, and I'm going to allow him to hang himself on every river. Unfortunately for us, the river is the worst card in the deck as it comes the 8 of spades. Not because I think my opponent now has a straight, but I realize that my opponent's just never going to bluff on this river as it improves all of my holdings. I check it over to him, and he snap checks it back. We announce Queen 9, and he snap mucks and says, that is really, really good. So he was also jokingly saying that on any other river, he's going to blast it off. So I think we were ready to go there, ready to catch the old fair catch and the European punt. We were ready for it. As all you already know, I've been hosting my private game here at the Lucky Lady, and it's no question, or I guess secret, that the Lucky Lady is owned by the same people that own the Hustler Casino. Sean Yaples is the GM over at the Hustler and out the Lucky Lady, and he's reached out to me and looking to me to kind of really revamp the space in a positive manner. I think we have a really opportunity at making something special there. All that being said, I'm going to start hosting a public 2-5 game. As you guys know, some places here in Southern California, there's a 1-2 game that only lets you buy up to $40 and still rakes you like $6 on that. Make that make sense. How can the player ever beat that? I have no idea. Yeah, if you guys are interested and you guys are watching this video, it's super simple. You can just sign up on Poker Atlas. If you guys have the app downloaded, we're going to be hosting our first game on Sunday. It'll be starting a little bit after noon. If you guys need some more information on that, again, you can check on my Instagram. I'll be posting about it over there. You can also call the lucky lady directly, which I'll leave their phone number here. Call them and let them know that you want to play with C2B in my game here on Sunday. I'm going to have wonderful people co-hosting this event with me. It'll be going on every single week, so every Sunday you can expect it. And yeah, we got people like AG that we're going to be partnering with. She's a female poker player, wonderful person to be around here in the local community. If you've ever met her, I'm sure you like her. She plays like 2-3 at the Hustler. All that being said, I knew this was super long-winded, but I thought it'd be really important for me to share with you folks. If you happen to be in the Los Angeles area, anywhere in Southern California, anywhere close enough, I can promise you the trip will be well worth it. Outside of that, we've done enough talking. Let's get back into the video. Again, I'll see you guys there on Sunday at the Lucky Lady. As I promised you all earlier, we have the $80 straddle on, and yours truly is in the $80 straddle. Action's been actually fairly good, as the fun player and myself have been putting on all the straddles, getting the game a little more wild and out of line, which in turn makes for a better vlog. Either way, it seems like a win-win to me. In this next hand, there's a couple of limps that occur until it gets over to the big blind. He decides to make it $400 to go. The action folded to me in the straddle, the $80 straddle. We look down at a big hand that no one knows how to play, pocket jacks. Pocket jiggities, maybe not working for some people, but for me, in this case, you've got to see it to believe it. And my opponent's got to see some more chips in this pot. I decide to 4-bet it up to 1,000. I don't know about sizing here, to be perfectly honest. We're only playing like 50 or 40 big blinds effective or whatever after the straddle, so sure, I probably could be doing things wrong, but I think putting a quarter or a fifth of my stack in here with a hand as strong as I have is never a bad idea. Action folds back to my opponent, who goes deep into the tank. And to be quite fair, I've been 3-betting him relentlessly today with King 7 off, Ace 6 suited, Ace 5 suited, those kind of hands. And here I have a really big hand. I finally got it. So I'm looking to get some playback here. Our opponent eventually decides to fold, though. Unlucky for us there, and we decide to move on. Well, I mean, I don't decide. He decides, but c'est la vie. Not a whole lot of landmines to worry about in today's session. It's been fairly smooth sailing, but as you all know, things can get turbulent very quickly. And in this next hand, middle position limps. I'm on the button with Ace King offsuit. I decide to raise it up here. This is one of the newer recreational players that have joined the table. I make it $100 to go. The straddle was off on this hand. The action folds back to him and he calls. The flop looks pretty good to me as it comes King, Queen 3, Rainbow. I decide to c-bet for a small sizing of 80, and my opponent decides to make the call. To be quite fair, although this is kind of a dry-ish flop, it's like in the middle, I think betting a little larger against a limp makes sense. My opponent's going to have a ton of like King Jack, King 10, King 9 suited, a bunch of Queen Jack, Queen 10, Queen 9 type holdings, and I think those hands are not going to be folding against really anything. And I think my small bet here doesn't accomplish a whole lot. I think what more than likely is I'm going to be getting called by a pair here or a hand that has some equity like Ace 10 or Jack 10. All that to be said, we're heading off to a turn card after he recalls. That looks like a pretty meh card as it comes to 10 of diamonds. Brings a backdoor flush. Also makes some 2-pair possibilities there. Makes some pair plus flush draws or pair plus straight draws. I decide to bet a little bit on the larger side for 300. With nearly 300 in the middle already, I think a pot size bet on a board like this makes sense. I think I can still get value from a ton of holdings. Like I said, pair plus straight draws. All of those things exist. It doesn't just have to be hands that are better than me, and that's important when you go bigger. But our opponent does something really, really interesting and min clicks me to 600. I don't know. I just find min clicking super offensive, but granted, our opponent is a recreational, so, you know, seems like it's all in good fun. I don't know. Maybe I have the worst hand. Maybe I have the best hand. Maybe our opponent has a bunch of equity and just doesn't know how to approach it. But our opponent only has about $400 or $600 behind, if I'm not mistaken. You can see a little bit from the corner of your video screen here. Either way, I think jamming wouldn't accomplish much. I think just calling here is good as a backup plan to see and evaluate what my opponent does on the river. Either way, I make the $300 call, looking to hit an ace, a king, or pair the board in some way. And the river card comes out, a 6 of diamonds. Not that great here for us. The backdoor flush draw does come in, and at this point, my opponent tanks forever and then decides to check. At this point, I ask my opponent for a count of his stack, and I realize that there's just not enough hands that I can get value from if I jam here that he can call off with. I just don't think my opponent is going to have a hand like King Jack or King 9 or a hand like, you know, king X of diamonds because I blocked that. So all of that to be said, I just go ahead and check it back, and pretty happy I did. I show my hand and I fast roll, and my opponent shows queen 10. So definitely an unlucky turn, and we had significantly more outs than we needed, I think, after calling that raise on the turn. Obviously, if the board pairs by coming a 3, if an ace comes, if a king comes, we make the best hand. So either way, moving on. Once again, the $40 straddle is on. We're locked in, especially when we look down at ace 10 here from the cutoff. I'm going to go ahead and raise it up here. $100 to go. When the straddler makes a call and the flop comes out jack 9 7 with 2 spades and a heart, action checks over to me, and I decide to c-bet for $80. My opponent makes a call. We're looking to hit one of our gutter ball outs here, and on the turn card, it comes none of that, as it comes a 5 of clubs. With the action checked over to me, I think we have a pretty clear check back, and the river card comes out the king of spades, completing the front door flush. I do remember that I'm holding a black ace, but I don't know if it's the spade or the club. And when that happens, I don't like looking back down and giving away a tell. I just want to pretend to myself that I have an ace of spades. I think about it for a little bit before deciding to throw out a bluff here for 250. Going slightly less than the size of the pot here, going big for sure. Our opponent tanks forever, and the classic Euro tank, the tank raise. Halfway through that, we felt it coming. We have a pretty clear fold after he makes it about 1,000 to go, and he does the classic thing by letting us know that he believes that he misplayed his hand and that he raised with a straight, but it's hard for me to ever call with worse. Either way, good hand to you, my good sir. You are going to win my chips, and after a really hot start, we're definitely cooling down. You may be asking yourself, hey, where the hell is the hand from the title? Well, it's right here, so let's not wait any longer. Last hand of the session, and you know what they say, we saved the best for last. We're playing 7 or 8 handed at this point. I look down at ace 3 of hearts here from under the straddle. I make it 100. Only the straddler is left to act, and he decides to 3-bet to 340 bucks. After a little bit of confusion, getting my chips out there, we end up making the call, and the flop is something that only people can write stories about, as it comes 7, 6, 4 with the 6-4 of hearts. We flop ourselves a gutter ball straight draw as well as the nut flush draw. Our opponent decides to lead out here, not holding back at all and going big. He bets $460. Action on me. I think that there's sometimes we can raise here, but the one thing that I do have to keep in the back of my mind is this opponent likes to run it once, and I don't think that I'm ever going to get my opponent to ever fold a better hand. But on the contrary, I don't think my opponent is going to be capable of folding an overpair if I do hit one of my outs. All of that being checked and left in the back of my head, in the back of my mind, I know that I've got to hit a heart or a straight to win this hand. I make the call, and the waiting is up. The turn card comes, the beautiful, magnificent, unbelievable 10 of hearts. There are piles and piles and piles of dollars left behind here, and my opponent is not quitting. He bets 500. Okay, well, now things are getting very interesting. I have about 3,500 in my stack right now. At this point, you have to ask yourself, how do we get more money in the middle? I think I definitely have to raise here. I got to get more money in the middle right now before the straight cards come or any more hearts come. I decided to just min click it as he did to me earlier and make it 1,000 to go. He doesn't think about it for much long and decides to call. We're going off to river card, hoping to see a brick, and it's a medium card as it comes a 6 of spades. Pairing the board, but when my opponent checks it to me, I think here we can pretty clearly have the effect of nuts. At this point, we have no other decision. That's why we built the size of the pot like we did to go all in. We go all in for $2,500, and my opponent nearly beats me into the pot, which definitely scares me a little bit. I immediately announce a flush, and I flip over my hand. My opponent is obviously in disgust and mucks his holding. We ship a $9,000 pot. Oh my goodness. Let's go. That's how we do it. Things in 2023 are definitely looking up. We're getting there in every spot we need to. Let's freaking go. What a way to end today's episode. Let's talk about it in the outro to see how we feel after today's session and more about the numbers.
So here we we are today in Southern California. It is a gloomy day, in fact, but do not have gloomy results. Really crazy session. We didn't have many tough decisions to deal with. There was a couple of spots that I didn't show on the vlog. Kind of for the first time in a while, just understanding table dynamics and player profiles. There was a gentleman that was to my left really playing pretty tight, honestly. And I had ace-10 of diamonds on the button. I raised to 100, the $40 strat was on, and he made it 500 off a $1,300 total stack. I pretty much snap folded, and he shows pocket kings. So, you know, I think I was, you know, playing pretty solid and playing my spots, doing a little bluff. Didn't work, but it was just like easy sailing. And on top of that, like almost $3,000 an hour. We played for 2 hours. It was quick. We've got a long day ahead of us and very little sleep. All that to be said, I've got to hop in my car and head home. Give you guys the results. We were into the game for 3,000 and out for 84.75. So plus 5,500-ish. We'll definitely take it after pretty dismal last session, but super happy with today's result. The game was actually massive. It was 10, 20, 40, 80 most hands, or at least half the hands, and 10, 20, 40 for almost every single hand. So I'm in front of the Commerce. It's like 8 in the morning. I probably have to head home. If you guys haven't already, make sure to follow me on all my social medias. That's Instagram and Twitter. You guys can follow me on Twitter at C2B LA or on Instagram at close to broke. Super easy to find me there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the splash squads. You guys know about the WSB giveaway already. If you don't, there should be a link in the description box linking you to a video describing how you guys can enter. Outside of that, have a great day, guys. It's 8 in the morning. I played poker. Anything is possible.